Tonight, an American giant has been brought to its knees. The sprawling Boeing assembly plants in Everett and Renton, Washington have fallen silent. The hum of machinery has ceased. The bustling activity of tens of thousands of workers has vanished. This is not a planned holiday or a temporary pause. It's a full-scale shutdown, triggered by a trade dispute that spiraled out of control. For the first time in decades, production lines for the iconic 737 MAX and other aircraft are idle, casting a shadow over the American economy. Boeing's CEO, visibly strained, called the situation untenable at an emergency press conference. New tariffs from Beijing in response to U.S. trade policies have made American-made aircraft prohibitively expensive for China, the world's fastest-growing aviation market. The financial bleeding became too severe to ignore. The shutdown is a stark illustration of how quickly geopolitical tensions can devastate American businesses and their employees. Imagine the scene: vast hangars, usually echoing with riveting and assembly, now eerily quiet. Half-finished fuselages sit motionless, monuments to a sudden halt in progress. The economic shockwave is already being felt across the Pacific Northwest and beyond. As we stand here on August 12, 2025, the silence from these factories poses a difficult question. How did we get here? And what does this mean for the thousands of families whose livelihoods depend on these grounded giants? The roots of this crisis stretch back years. The U.S. China trade relationship has long been fraught with tension, intellectual property, market access, and a persistent trade imbalance. What began as targeted tariffs on steel and aluminum escalated into a full-blown economic confrontation. Washington imposed new restrictions on Chinese tech firms. Beijing responded strategically, targeting commercial aviation. China slapped a 25% tariff on all imported U.S. aircraft and key aerospace components, a precision strike. Chinese airlines, among Boeing's largest customers, suddenly faced soaring costs, freezing new purchases and jeopardizing existing ones. Boeing's stock plummeted over 30% in a single day, erasing billions in value. The tariffs created a powerful incentive for Chinese carriers to shift orders to Airbus, a long-term blow to Boeing's market share. This escalation marks a new, more dangerous phase of the trade war, fundamentally altering the landscape for American manufacturing and international trade. The decision to impose these tariffs signals Beijing's willingness to endure short-term pain for long-term strategic gain. The impact of China's tariffs on Boeing was immediate and catastrophic. Chinese airlines began canceling or postponing orders. Nearly a third of Boeing's entire backlog for the 737 MAX vanished overnight. Planes rolled off the assembly line with no buyers, creating a logistical and financial nightmare. Newly built aircraft worth over $100 million each started piling up at airfields, billions in frozen capital. The cash flow slowed to a trickle, forcing Boeing's leadership into a corner. The shutdown rippled through Boeing's vast supply chain, halting orders for engines, fuselage sections, and landing gear, and sending shockwaves through American manufacturing. Ultimately, shutting down was an act of financial self-preservation. Continuing to build planes without buyers would have led to insolvency. The tariffs severed Boeing's vital link to a critical global market, leaving the company with no choice but to turn off the lights. The economic fallout from Boeing's shutdown is staggering. Boeing is America's largest exporter by value. The halt in production is a direct hit to the nation's GDP. Economists estimate the shutdown will shave at least 0.5% off U.S. GDP for every quarter it continues. Washington state alone is projected to lose over $100 million in tax revenue per month, threatening public services. Boeing directly employs about 140,000 people in the U.S. Nearly 80,000 have been furloughed. For every Boeing job, 3 to 4 more are supported in the supply chain. Total jobs at risk could exceed 300,000. The canceled Chinese orders are valued at over $300 billion in list prices over the next decade. Maintaining idle factories and storing undelivered aircraft will cost Boeing an estimated $2 billion per month. The financial drain threatens Boeing's ability to invest in future aircraft, potentially ceding ground to Airbus. The U.S. aerospace trade surplus, over $80 billion in 2024, will vanish, possibly turning into a deficit. This is not just a corporate issue, it's a national economic security crisis, undermining a pillar of American industrial dominance. The very trade deficit the tariffs aim to fix is now set to worsen. For Boeing's workers, the shutdown is a personal catastrophe. David Chen, a third-generation Boeing employee, says, "This company is in my blood. Now I'm at home, wondering if I'll have a job to go back to." In towns like Renton and Everett, Boeing is the lifeblood of the local economy. Small businesses are struggling. Maria Rodriguez's diner is down 70%. The furloughs have thrown tens of thousands of families into financial turmoil. Unemployment benefits are a fraction of regular income. Many face tough choices: dip into savings, sell their homes, or leave the state to find work. Aerospace skills don't easily transfer to other industries. The shutdown has created a sudden, severe skills mismatch, leaving a highly trained workforce with nowhere to go. Union leaders are fighting for support, but options are limited. "We can't create airplane orders," says a union rep. "Our members are victims of failed trade policy." The sense of pride has been replaced by uncertainty and anxiety. Workers did everything right, but their hard work can't overcome a 25% tariff. The call is clear. A political solution is needed before temporary furloughs become permanent layoffs. Communities built around Boeing are at risk of being hollowed out for good. The shutdown's human cost is as devastating as the economic one. For these workers, the future has never felt more uncertain. To grasp the full impact, look at the global supply chain. A modern airplane is a marvel of international cooperation. Wings from Japan, fuselage from Italy, landing gear from the UK, all assembled in the US. The U.S. China trade relationship was critical, not just for sales but for manufacturing components. Chinese companies made parts for Boeing aircraft, integrating the two economies. The tariff shattered this model. Orders to international suppliers have halted, sending tremors through allied economies. The crisis exposes the vulnerability of complex, interconnected supply chains, efficient in good times, fragile in crisis. Companies are rethinking just-in-time manufacturing and global sourcing, searching for more resilient, if costlier, supply chains. Ironically, tariffs meant to protect American industry have revealed its deep dependence on global trade. The American worker in Everett is linked to suppliers in Japan and customers in China. When one link breaks, the whole chain suffers. The shutdown is a painful lesson in the risks of concentrating business in a single, politically sensitive market. Leading economists agree this is a self-inflicted economic wound of historic proportions. Dr. Mark Zandi of Moody's Analytics says, "This is the predictable outcome of a tit-for-tat trade war. Boeing was always the most likely target. The damage extends beyond job losses. It strikes at the heart of American competitiveness." Dr. Evelyn Reed notes, "Every canceled Boeing order is a potential new order for Airbus. Losing China's market could permanently alter the aerospace industry's balance. Developing a new aircraft program takes decades and hundreds of billions. Losing market share now could take a generation to recover." Experts say the core mistake was underestimating China's willingness to absorb pain to resist U.S. pressure. For Beijing, this is about sovereignty and technological advancement, not just economics. Even if tariffs were lifted tomorrow, trust between Boeing and Chinese customers is badly damaged. Airlines make fleet decisions for decades. Political risk now overshadows buying American. Boeing will have to work for years to rebuild its reputation as a dependable supplier. Meanwhile, Airbus is cementing relationships and locking in orders. The road back for Boeing and American manufacturing will be long and arduous. The lesson: trade wars have lasting, unpredictable consequences. In Washington, D.C., the Boeing shutdown has ignited a political firestorm. The White House faces pressure from all sides. Some demand a hard line, others call for immediate de-escalation. Lawmakers from Washington state are especially vocal, urging the administration to negotiate with Beijing before the damage becomes irreversible. The administration is caught between America First rhetoric and the reality that its policies have shut down a national icon. Admitting failure is politically costly, but letting Boeing collapse would be worse. Allies in Europe and Asia affected by the aerospace supply chain disruption are urging both sides to negotiate. The dilemma: how to resolve the crisis and restart Boeing's factories without abandoning long-term strategic objectives. Every move now carries significant economic and political risks. As the dust settles, the nation must grapple with the consequences. The immediate priority: find a resolution to reopen factory gates and bring Americans back to work. This will require urgent diplomacy, de-escalation of the tariff war, and rebuilding trust with China. The shutdown is a wake-up call. American prosperity is tied to global markets and complex supply chains. Aggressive tariffs have backfired, hurting the very workers they were meant to protect. Recovery will require a more nuanced approach to trade, balancing competition with cooperation and building more resilient supply chains. The crisis forces us to confront hard truths about America's place in the global economy. The question now, what is the true path to ensuring the long-term health and prosperity of American manufacturing in a connected world?